Morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. Sunday, it's a little bit cloudy. Tell me what it's like with you. It is game day back at Celtic Park. How do you feel about going back to Celtic Park after the unfortunate result in the previous game? Tell me in the comment section. Whilst I forget my coffee before it goes cold today. Anyway, there's a lot of transfer chitter chatter going on around the country due to the fact that Greg Taylor, well, we all know the situation. Tell me what you think about. I'm just going to do a little poll. 2 seconds. Go to the early polls one. This is a good one. Fourth one. That's the kind of mood I'm in this morning. Submit poll. Why is it not submitting poll? There we go. Tell me what you think about Greg Taylor in the comments section, because Greg Taylor has changed his mind. Greg Taylor has seemingly changed his mind and he wants to stay at Celtic until the end of the season. Greg Taylor wants to stay at Celtic until the end of the season now, and he wants to win a treble with Celtic. Fair play to him, but no. He shouldn't be allowed to stay at Celtic. He's now wanting to stay until the end of the season so that it gives them time. It buys them time to get another club. When are we ever? Greg Taylor should be fucking sold to the first buyer that comes through the door. That's my opinion. No player apart from Henrik Larsson should ever be allowed to decide when they leave the club. And that's what Greg Taylor's want to do. He's want to decide when he leaves the club, and he wants to leave on his terms. He can piss right off, if you ask me. What's your thoughts on Greg Taylor is the poll question this morning. Should we sell him? Should we keep him? He shouldn't be near the first team. Who cares? He's pish, is the answers. And it is just a bit of fun, but it's not really, because excuse me. Joking at your Fenian, someone just said. Anyway, Lorna's just shown off now. Happy Sunday from the Maldives. Should we put Lorna on a timeout for like 2 days? I'm only joking, Lorna. I hope you're having a fantastic holiday. What time is it with you in the Maldives? And good morning to Stephen Johnson this morning. I'm on at Stephen Johnson. And the family are doing fantastic, Stephen. Thanks for asking. But anyway, the Greg Taylor situation. Greg Taylor had been looked as if he was going to Dynamo Zagreb. They were interested in him. It then came out late last night, that even though that Kieran Tierney looks to be coming back to the club, that Taylor wants to stay at the club until the end of the season. Before leaving to go somewhere else. And I just think it's David Turnbull. We'll look back to this time last year now. And David Turnbull, when he decided he was going to leave Celtic, and he wasn't going to sign a new contract, Celtic sold him. And that's the way that it should happen. I think that Celtic have been bitten on the arse far too many times with players that have came in that are not good enough, and we've lost money on them. Greg Taylor came in for £3 million. He's got 6 months left on his contract. He should be given the same treatment as David Turnbull. And there is absolutely no way should Kieran Tierney come back to Celtic that Greg Taylor should be allowed to stay. Not one friggin' iota. He's done absolutely nothing. He did nothing whatsoever in the Derby game. He was scared to put in a tackle. He didn't try. He was absolutely woeful. And people have been calling out Greg Taylor for long enough. I can't wait till Paul Baird comes on. Paul Baird sees this morning. He'll go into complete meltdown. And Paul Baird will be like, get rid of the mother... It's 30 degrees here, says Lorna. That's not too bad temperature. That's just a nice temperature. So when it hits about 35, 40, that's when it gets a bit... 30 is just a nice temperature. But anyway, yeah. The fact that it's all over the Celtic media this morning that Greg Taylor's made it clear that he would like to stay at Celtic. When you look at players that have left... Who cares about them? Who cares? Anyway, Paulo Bernardo's been speaking to the media also, and Paulo Bernardo vows a swift Celtic reset. And that's all that game's done. When you see that lot jumping all over their win like they've won the Champions League, let them have their moment of glory, because they may have won that one battle, but we've won two important games before them. We won the first one of the season, and we won the cup final. And at the end of the season, once we've done the treble, all that matters at the end of the season is the players that are sitting with the trophies in the cabinet and the medals that are around their neck come the end of the season. So Sevconians, you can love your wee win, but at the end of the season, it means nothing. You mean nothing. And anyway, that's enough of them. Paulo Bernardo is looking for Celtic to respond quickly to the surprising rout of the Sevconians when they host St Mirren today. Celtic were stunned, obviously, by that 3-0 defeat at Ibrox with no away fans and with Celtic players getting attacked from the stand in 2024. Images like this shouldn't be allowed to happen in Scottish football. Shouldn't be allowed to happen in football at all. But there you see this geezer up that's just circled, and you can actually see him throwing the coin. Yep, throwing the coin. And I don't see, there doesn't seem to be much condemnation except some plonkery, an ex-football player that's went onto social media to say, the Celtic player went down too easy. Well, I hope somebody goes into his work and smashes him off the head with a coin or a bottle, just to level it out a bit and see how he feels. It shouldn't be happening in this day and age, and it just shows that even today, even after all the safety concerns that Celtic made, and I make no apologies going on about this, because it is a disgusting thing to happen in any day. But anyway, after that defeat, Celtic and Paulo Bernardo, it was the first domestic defeat of the season. Yes, the first defeat of the season. Let that sink in. We've let it sink in for a couple of days now, and we've all got over it. It's on to the next game. It was the first domestic defeat since a 2-0 loss to Hearts in March last year. Paulo Bernardo wants to get back on track as fast as we can, and to prepare to host St Mirren, who lost to Dundee and Kilmarnock in their last two games. The 22-year-old Portuguese star. Yes, Paulo Bernardo's only 22. And I think that we do forget this sometimes when we look at the Celtic team. You know, it's a really youthful midfield that we have, and we're expecting them to go into high-pressure games with experience and with talent and game knowledge. And the fact is that we don't have, apart from Callum McGregor, we don't have an older midfield general that knows how to get through games, that when other teams are trying to bully players, goes, fucking wait a minute here. How you? Fuck up. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, sometimes it just happens. Paulo Bernardo says we need to work harder and focus on things that we do well on the pitch to make sure it doesn't happen the next time. We don't win every game, but it's we don't win every game. Paulo Bernardo, you never said that. I don't believe he said that. But now it's about working hard, he says, on the training pitch and producing a good performance. On Sunday, we have rested. We didn't play as well as we wanted to. So we now need to respond as soon as possible. Our job, we need to go again on Sunday, said Paulo Bernardo. He said Celtic want to win. The title isn't that far away, said Paulo Bernardo. Oh, the title isn't far away, says Paolo Bernardo. We're in January now. That was the first game in January. So we don't focus on the title just yet. We focus on the next game. I've enjoyed a lot of good experiences in this fixture. That one gives us a lot of motivation for the next game. But now it's on to Sunday. And it's about getting the 3 points and getting us closer to that title again. The game passed, it's over, it's done with. We've got another match, we need to move on quickly for sure, says Paolo Bernardo. It's good to only get a few days between the games so it doesn't give us much time to think about it or dwell on that game. It is all about that game, and Celtic have another couple of games coming up really quick, which we win that and it's all back to normal business. You know, we're 11 points ahead in the league and we are still on track for winning the minimum, the bare minimum of a domestic double. We're on the track to get the bare minimum of a domestic trouble and a domestic double. The treble is well within our grasp, but we're the only team in Scotland that can win a treble. Top snipers on the channel. I take it there's zombies in the house. I'm not even reading some of the comments. I'll get to the comments. Biggest happy clapper on YouTube comes out when Billy Beast of Ibrox win a game. It's good that they're all subscribed to the channel. Just let them just delete their comments, and it's funny that they're all subscribed to the channel, which is good because you know who's top dogs. Ultimately, you won one game. That means nothing. It means nothing whatsoever. You won a dead rubber game. You won a dead rubber game. Think about that. You're celebrating winning one game in January when we've just won the cup. Celtic have they're on course for a double. They're on course for another double. They're potentially on course for another treble. Another treble. It's going to be a long, hard summer for you lot when Celtic do win the league again, because we will win the league again. Celtic will not throw away the 11-point gap that we do have. And let's hope. Let's see how many of them are around today. When your call for Atalanta setup was correct after the final. We should have changed the approach. Brendan Naive. Tom, I'm glad that you pointed that out, because you know, it was one of those things that I said we had to go into that. I know it's over with. We move on. We've got a more important game today. The fact that Louis Palma's been talking about a possible transfer also. A bit more Celtic transfer news this morning, as Luis Palma is at the centre of transfer interest in Italy. Italians have looking to take the Honduran from us. Oh, Jesus. He is one player that needs to go. Him, Odom Owen, Stephen Welsh is on his way out. And after falling way out of favour, Odom Owen, he's never been seen all season. Louis Palma is a player, even though he scored 3 goals in a nothing game over in Ireland. There's an Italian side coming in for Palma. Italian football would actually suit Palma better. They are sitting 13th in the Italian top flight. With Patrick Vieira in charge. Well, there you go. Celtic want to recoup as much of the 3.5 million fee spent on Louis Palma. I think even if we get 3 million for Palma, it's a good piece of business. It gets a player that's not really doing it for Celtic. He's got 10 goals and 10 assists in 44 appearances, Palma, but he hasn't been the influential figure that we thought he was going to be at Celtic. Anyway, let's jump into the comment section and see what you're saying about Greg Taylor. Baz, would you really take Jota back? Says Tony. Would I really take Jota back? I'm not too sure about the Jota one. You can understand why Brendan's bringing back Kieran Tierney, and even if it is a 3-year deal, he's 27 just now. He'll be 28 at the end of this year. That takes him up to his 31. It takes him back to his 31. At that point, you're thinking 31 is Kieran Tierney. He'll get another year contract maybe out of Celtic. 31, 32. After that, when you're a full-back at Celtic, you need to have pace, and there's no passengers in the position that he plays in. Yet Celtic have never had passengers. They always get rid of players when they're either at their best or where they're just getting that little bit over the hill. So I reckon it's a good deal for getting them for nothing, if we get Tierney for nothing. But Jota, there's no resale value. It's a player that's maybe a bit mentally damaged over, financially, he's set up for life. Financially, Jota's set up for life. But mentally and on the game, maybe coming back to Celtic would do him good. But I've never seen any solid speculation that Jota's coming back and that Celtic are interested in Jota. It's all just pub talk. It is all just pub talk, the whole Jota situation. I've never seen anyone come out with a solid piece of information, that Celtic are seriously interested in Jota. I just don't get it. We are interested in another winger, and this is where the story comes from. Because we're getting rid of Lewis Palma and the Jota situation at Rennes, people just put two and two together. The manager is in the market for a replacement for Louis Palma, but it's whether we go. Would you really go for Jota? Would the manager even go for Jota? I think that the manager and that would be looking at other players. You can understand why he's went for Tierney. He's good mates with him. He knows how to get the best out of Tierney. He's never worked with Jota. So it's a difficult one. But if I start seeing some solid information coming in that we're seriously interested in Jota, then I'll start taking that serious. I just think it's pub talk just now. Anyway, I did ask the question about one Celtic player who is at the end of his contract and he wants to leave in his own terms. Yes, Greg Taylor says that he now wants to stay until the end of the season to try and win a domestic treble. He's trying to pull at the heartstrings of Celtic fans, as Greg Taylor, and say, let him win the treble for Celtic. And if he doesn't win the treble, he'll just walk away for nothing. And we get absolutely nada for him. And never ever have I seen a Celtic player, first team player, that Celtic currently value at £7 million, have that decision to make. And I think that if we get one chance, he'll be sold as soon as possible. Greg Taylor. What's your thoughts on Greg Taylor is the poll question. There's 148 votes so far. Sell him, keep him. Sell him 70%. Keep says 24%. Wow. I never expected such a high amount of people to say keep Greg Taylor to the end of the season, especially after some of his performances. And 3% said he shouldn't be near the team, and who cares, he's passion. I love that one just added in. Sel Taylor says Liam Burns. Right, let's jump into... we're linked to Jota every window. Yes, we are linked to Jota. Big Dom's in the house, Carly's in the house. Hatate was only interested in pressing Ange. He's fell off a cliff since Ange left to get him to F. I'm glad you said that, Carly, because I've picked out Hatate over a number of weeks now as a player that is not at his best. I've picked him out during games, I've picked him out before games, and I've said that, look, he only turns up for 10-15 minutes. And it's not good enough. It's not what Celtic need in that midfield. And it'll be interesting to see what Brendan... I'm not even going to try and do a team prediction this morning, because I think that Brendan Rodgers is going to sit down... He would have sat down with the backroom staff and went, do you know, I'm going to freshen it up for Celtic Park, and I'm going to let some of these players know that when they don't perform, they get the treatment that they deserve when they don't perform, and that's relegated to the bench. And it's football. It's football. If you do not perform in a sports environment, and there's someone sitting on the bench that is champing at the bit, i.e. Luke McCowan, and that is champing at the bit and that loves Celtic inside out, and that would do 110% more than what Rio Hatate would do just to get onto that pitch with Celtic. It is time to unleash Luke McCowan, and I think today is the perfect game for it. I expect Hatate to be on the bench today. When it comes to Greg Taylor, will Greg Taylor get a game today? He was complete rubbish at the last game, and I thought when Alex Bailly came on, far better. He's a player that wants to prove himself. Greg Taylor's been there and done it. Greg Taylor's won 9 trophies at Celtic of the years that he's been here. He wants to get that up just to have his little trophy medal and say, look what I won as a player, and then fuck off for Celtic. I would start Alex Bailly today. When it comes to the rest of the pitch, I'm just going to wait and see what Brendan says. When it comes to scores today, I'm not even going to try and predict a score, because I predicted 2-0 the last game, and the performance level. All I want today is these players, the players that Brendan has picked last night at the hotel, the players when Brendan sat down round the dinner tables last night and they spoke about the game, which they would have done. When they're sitting in the hotel, Brendan gives them the heads up on who's playing tomorrow and who isn't. And I hope that the players that have been given the nod know that they have to put on a performance today. Know that this Celtic crowd is not going to be all singing and dancing at the beginning of this game. This Celtic crowd is going to be subdued and quiet today. This Celtic team today is going to have to perform to get the crowd back up and motivated and singing. And that's the way it goes. It's the way it goes with Celtic. And I see it online. And I see it. I know how quiet things go when we get a draw or a bad result on here, and I expect it to be the exact same at Celtic Park, and it's deservedly so. Deservedly so. Calmack will know what to expect from the crowd today. He'll if Calmack will go into the centre circle, and he'll tell the boys, he'll be like, "Look, this crowd needs us to perform today. You need to perform to get this crowd going. You are the ones who are entertaining these guys." This 60,000 people around this stadium, they pay fantastic amounts of money to be season ticket holders at Celtic Park. They are the ones that pay your wages. You need to pay them back with a performance today. You need to pay them back with a display that entertains them, that gets them making the noise. We are the entertainers. They are the noise. They are the ones that can push us on ultimately. But we have to perform to get them to take us to the next level. If you need them to get you to the next level, you better make sure that you are 110% for the minute that this ball kicks off today. And that is the way that Callum McGregor will go around and say with the team talk this afternoon. Michael McKenna says he's made his choice. He didn't want. Andrew says, can he play Taylor and Scales? Might drop points if they play Hatate as well. Yep. Baz, do you think that Casper is even safe? Yes. I think if it wasn't for Casper, I think it could have been worse. And that's my honest opinion. I think Casper made a couple of good saves in that game. I think that Casper's done nothing wrong. When you look at the goals, I don't want to go back to that game, because when you look at the goals, Casper did nothing wrong for them. It was two mistakes by defenders. And it was the same defender on both goals. You know, it was Cameron Carter-Vickers that made two mistakes that got them both their goals. So, is Cameron Carter-Vickers safe? Too many scattergun emotional responses to the Ibrox game. The team has been outstanding this season. Folk wanting shot and folk need to calm down a bit. Yes, they do, Ray. But it is the way that the modern day Celtic fan are. And a lot of people will say it's the entitled Celtic fan base. That you've got to remember, there's a generation of Celtic fans that only know one thing, and that's Celtic dominance. And that is something that a lot of us older Celtic fans think we're bemused by, to be honest. We're bemused by, because they only know a good Celtic. They only know 24 years of pretty much Celtic dominance. The odd year that saved Clonians when these people were younger, probably about 4 or 5, that the Rangers won titles on an ongoing basis. There is a massive part of our support that have been spoiled, and let's face it, they've been spoiled over the success that we have had. But it's success that we've worked hard for. It's success that we've got a board that had. You can remember Peter Lawwell saying our main objection is to be the dominant force in Scottish football. It was always the objective of Celtic to be the dominant force of Scottish football. And now that we've achieved that, and we achieve it on an ongoing basis, everyone wants to take us down. They're still wallowing over the glory that the fact they stop us getting to 10 in a row. They still think that's brilliant. It was the second time that we got to 9 in a row. The second time. That's the irony of it. That's the irony of the whole stopping Celtic getting to the 10 in a row. It was the second time that we got to 9 in a row. And I believe that if we win the league this year, that we're potentially on course to do a third 9 in a row. And if we go on, and it's far too early to start talking about it, but if we go on and we continue in the same vein of form, this has been a hiccup. That game, that result, is all it's done is Brendan Rodgers has went, right, I now know who my leaders are, and I now know who my leaders aren't. I now know the positions that I really want to bring in players for. Celtic have got the money to go and bring in players that'll make this team better. I'm not worried about a 3-0 win in January, a 3-0 loss in January. I'm not worried about that at all. And for the South Koreans saying that I'm greeting and I'm hurting, all it's done is press the big reset button for Celtic, and we go, right, that's not happening again. That's not happening again. And that's the way that Brendan Rodgers and the team will see it. There is absolutely no chance that's happening again to us. We are marching on. You've got to remember, January is the time that Celtic always lift their game. January is the time where Celtic go, right, let's move on. We've got Paolo Bernardo spoke about it in his article yesterday. The title is in sight. We're only in January, but we're over the mountain, we're over the hill, we're over the halfway point. It's all downhill for now. There's no climbing up further to get to the pinnacle of seeing the title sitting in front of us. We can see the title. We can see the title. We can't see Rangers coming. Even after a 1-0 game, we can't see them coming. So let them have their moment of glory, and let's not get overly excited about the fact that they won one game. Rodgers now knows who his shitebags are, says Chelpel. Yes, he does, Chelpel. Alex Baye needs to start the game until KT gets to the door. Yes, I'm fully agreed with that, Chelpel. David Rowell says, I agree that there's an overreaction, but obviously we need to talk about what went wrong at Ibrox. Of course we do. And I think that we all know what went wrong. We all know, David, what went wrong. And we know the players that were at fault. And it's players that we've seen from a Celtic fan point of view. It's players that we've saw performance levels drop week in, week out. And that's why I'm not overly worried about it. Because if we can see it, right, you can guarantee that Brendan Rodgers sees it. You can guarantee that Strachan sees it. And I tell you one thing, you can guarantee that John Kennedy, who sits like this, John Kennedy sits at the side of the pitch with his arms folded, analysing every single player, analysing every single move. He's been there and done it and saw it so many times that he'll be sitting going... If you look at the way at half-time, when Brendan Rodgers came out and he was sitting to John Kennedy, and the two of them are sitting like this. They're sitting having a conversation with their mouths covered so that nobody could see what they're saying. They know the script. They know exactly what needs to be done to get this team back on course to win a treble. So do not worry about that. We all know that it needs to be talked about. But if we're talking about it, you can guarantee that the backroom staff, the management team, and the coaches are all having the same conversation. They're having the same conversation. They're not trying to cover up for Rio Hatate being shite. They're not trying to cover up for fucking Greg Taylor being an absolute bomb scare and fucking pulling out of tackles and even trying. They're not going to cover that up. They'll know the situation. They'll know it better than anybody. They'll know it better than any one of us. So yeah, David, we do need to talk about it, but it's the next game. It is the next game. We got bullied all over the park. Hopefully that's woke some of our players up. We're not a prima donna team. Yep. Lorna Gallagher, I've missed out loads of your comments, so I'm sorry. Stephen Johnson says, good morning, Jim. Keep Taylor, says Big Eddie. Big Eddie, tell us why. Tell us why. I'm seriously interested. Tell us why. Why do you think that we should keep Taylor to the end of the season and then let him go for free when we've allowed David Turnbull? We've got $3 million for David Turnbull. I don't think that we rated David Turnbull as a £7 million player. I'm honestly interested, Big Eddie. Just interested to get other opinions on the way that people think. I was just about to say, Baz Law, great Fenian minds think alike. Carly says, they all said that there was a dead rubber game, then celebrate they've won the treble. Absolutely. Exactly. They talk all before it was dead rubber, it was nothing. And now, the fact that they played simply the best before the game, and you're like, simply the best. Have you seen the points gap? Anyway, who cares about them? I was shocked. It felt like throwing a car at my telly. No, you didn't want to do that. Sean, the comments have just jumped up. Boy for Benny offer. I lost count how many times Scales has played a loose ball out from the back and we've been punished for it. Boy for Benny offer. Yeah. Scales is I can understand why a lot of people like Scales, but we know, I've said it since the beginning of this season, we know the limitations of Scales. We know, when we look back to last season in the Champions League, it was Scales' mistakes that cost us points. Scales' mistakes again that has cost us goals. You know, and he is a good player. I'm not knocking him as a player, but we know his limitations as a player. And, you know, I think that we've been too used... Look, we all know the situation with Scales. He was on his way back to Aberdeen. If there was two players that came into Celtic, had lived up to the media hype when they came in, £7 million worth of talent, if they had lived up to the media hype when they came in, Scales wouldn't even be at Celtic just now. And that's fact. He was thinking about going back to Aberdeen. Barry Robson would have bought him. And Barry Robson might still be in a job at Aberdeen. But, you know, people need to remember these things. People have really short memories. Brighton hooked Matt O'Reilly at half-time yesterday. Why couldn't Rodgers have hooked Hatate? I've no idea, but I've seen that Matt O'Reilly's been talking about the fact that he was taken off at half-time and he's not performing as well. Taylor on the bench, Hatate dropped, get McCowan on from the start and push McGregor up. Exactly, Mad Mac. I think that's what needs to be done. The team deserve to be chastised, not vilified, like those scum do to their own. Yep. And Keith says, when Hatate loses possession, it doesn't matter to him. He's pish overrated, Scales is shite, Taylor is miss. Taylor's wife is just about to have a baby. Why is he considering Zagreb? I think he's a non-starter, that one. I think that's why Greg Taylor wants to stay in Scotland until the end of the season. So that they can have their baby here, and then he will go, fuck Celtic, I'm off. And, you know, anyway. Barry says, Morning Baz, didn't Rodgers fix the problems from the final? No, he didn't. That's why I don't understand. Barry, I said that he needed to play the game a bit more like we played the game in Atalanta, and we didn't. I thought that's what we needed to do, that's how we needed to set up. I called that before the ball was kicked, and I still stand by it. But anyway. Andrew says, it's fine being a good player, but you've got to be better. Scales' limit is to make 2 Champions League teams of the week. Have any other centre-backs made that? Yet Baz has been the most consistent centre-back at Celtic for 18 months now. Now he's crap. Brown Warrior, I've called out Scales for a lot longer than that, and you know that. Scales, he might have made 2 Champions League teams of the week, but we know his limitations, and you cannot say that I'm now saying that he's crap. I've called Scales out for months now, So I'm not giving you that one, mate. I've called him. I've said that you can, when you watch his game, he has a mistake in him nearly every single game. It might not be a costly mistake, but he has mistakes in his game every single game, and I've called that out for months. So you can't say now he's crap, because I'm not saying now he's crap, and I'm not saying he's a crap player. I'm saying he's got mistakes in him, and those mistakes generally cost us, and they have done. No excuses for bad play today. Come on, the reason for being so shit against them. We were so off the pace, chasing second balls. There was an illness throughout was there an illness throughout the team? I don't think so. I think the illness had all cleared up. But I think the performance level that Celtic played against that lot was unexpected, even from Brendan Rodgers and the backroom staff. So yeah, I think we're getting carried away. There are a few changes needed, and Yep, we were at our worst, they were at their best. I'm just trying to catch up with some of these comments. To be honest, I think Taylor would be a good backup for Kieran Tierney. I don't think that he's going to stay. He'll leave in the summer for nothing. If we allow Greg Taylor to walk away for nothing, Brendan Rodgers must have a plan up his sleeve, because we need to bring in 2 left backs. Alex Bailly will return to Barcelona. If we don't get Kieran Tierney until the summer, we still need to bring in another left back. So it's either the situation that Celtic are going, right, there's not another left back that we can get in currently, so we're going to have to keep Greg Taylor, but then we have to get 2 left backs in, and that's a difficult one to try and get 2 players in for the one position, and especially when you're wanting them to be first team choices. I mean, you'll get one in, and then another player might go, I don't really fancy coming to Celtic. You've just signed Kieran Tierney, so it's going to be a difficult one. It's got to be a difficult one. Boy from Ben Alpha says, need to bring Trusty on a bit more and another quality centre back, so they have to fight for their place. Yes, that's my point exactly. Too many players in that Celtic team know that if they get dropped, they're only getting dropped to the bench, and Scales is one of them. He knows that he's good enough to play every week, and if he gets dropped, he's only getting dropped to the bench. That's no pressure on a player. There's too many players in the Celtic team that know that, and that goes all the way through the team, from the defence right up to the 2 strikers. There's no pressure on any of these players, if you ask me. To be honest, I think Taylor would be good backup for KT if he's done that one. Dave Hislop says, get rid of Taylor and bump Hatate on the bench. I think Hatate needs not even the bench. I think that we need to get him out the team completely. Give him a little wake-up call. Bring on Luke McCowan, and then leave Arnie Engels on the bench. That's what I think. But anyway, Brown Warrior says that's his limit. Talking about Greg Taylor, I think of it. Barry says he served us well. Let him sign a 6-month contract. Not a chance. Greg Taylor will not sign a 6-month contract. That would take him up until next Christmas. No, he's not signed the Celtic contract that's in front of him. He now has changed his mind because he's not got the team. This is the way that I read the Greg Taylor situation. No team in England has come in for him, right? His agent has not had a call from one team in England so far this window, said that we'd be interested in taking Greg Taylor just now. The only ones that's came in is Zagreb. His wife's due to give birth, so she's thinking, I'm not going to fucking Zagreb. He's thinking, I didn't want to be away from her when she gives birth. I'm just going to tell Brendan I want to stay here at the end of the season. Piss off. Get him sold to the first bid that comes in. That's what I say. And that's the way I see it. Anyway, Kevin says, every time we get beat, Scales is one player that gives 110% in the middle of the park. If the same, it would be a different story. Brendan spent over 13 million in centre backs. Most of them are on their way out, says Big Dom. Right, Big Dom. The 2 centre backs that are on their way out were chosen before Brendan came to Celtic. They were not his choices. The 9 players that were brought, and stop trying to rewrite history, Celtic fans. We all know that the 9 players that Brendan Rodgers brought in the first summer were Ange Postecoglou players, right? They were not Brendan's choices. Brendan came in, and the backroom staff and Mark Lawwell and everyone went, right, there's the list of players that Ange was going to be buying. There's the list of players. Did they get the nod from you? And he's went through the sheets and looked at all their stats and the recommendations for the scouting people and went, yeah, we'll tick them off. If you say they're good enough, that's fine by me. What happened months later? Mark Lawwell gets sacked because of these 9 players that he gave Brendan Rodgers. Because Brendan Rodgers got to Christmas and went, these players are shite. So let's not try and change history, saying that these are Brendan Rodgers and it's Brendan Rodgers' fault. The players that came in that last summer was the first time that Brendan Rodgers got to pick his own players that came in. So let's keep to factual evidence. Let's try and not dilute stuff here. Anyway, we're turning into South Koreans arguing amongst ourselves here. Celtic will be hurting to an easy 4-0 victory as far as Taylor get rid of this window. Brendan Rodgers clearly rates Liam Scales a lot higher than online Steens and Shankly's. I trust the experience on this one. Well, Brown Warrior, we'll see when he's dropped today what you could say. So come back today when Liam Scales is dropping. Trusty's brought back in against to play with Cameron Carter-Vickers. And Brown Warrior, you're putting yourself out there as a Steen and Shankly. That's all good. The whole team were pissed, that's the matter of fact. But as we signed these, Rodgers gave the nod. They're his players, so you need to accept it. Of course you accept it. But they weren't his choices. He signed them off, but they weren't his choices. They were put in front of him when he comes through the door. When you walk into a new job and you're given shitload of paperwork and you're going, right, this is what you've got to do. These are the players that are coming in, right? And you go, I don't know any of them. I've never seen videos or footage of it, but if you're saying that this is okay, I'll go with this because I'm just in the door in the job. So fine, I'll tick them off. Right, I'll read the stats and I'll tick them off. You cannot give Brendan Rodgers stick for signing fucking Gustav Lagerbielke and all the rest of it. Anyway, let's get some predictions in. I've been on for 40 minutes. I've been on far too long this morning. Let's give the predictions for the game today. I don't know what shite is the rest of us, Baz. The difference is I know I talk shite. I talk shite all the day and I get to talk it. So Yang Ohm was signed on Orange before Brendan got here. Exactly. Right, let's get to Celtic. And I'm going to go for Celtic 2. And St Mirren, they've had a couple of goals in against them the last couple of weeks, haven't they? They had one good home game. They've had an average of 2 goals going against them. I'm going to give St Mirren 1. I'm going to go St Mirren 1 today. I don't think... Will our defence level up today? There's my prediction. Celtic 2, St Mirren 1. Big Des, we need to calm it down. Dave Hislop says 4-0. Wee Man Sham is going for 3-0. Conan is going for 4-0. Going for 4-0. Big Des going for 3-1. Paul, Brown Warrior, get your scores in the doors. Come on, get your scores in. Big Des is going for 3-1. 4-1 was Paul. Chill says, Greg Taylor's on 15 grand a week. Yes, get rid of him. Boyfriend Ben Alpha, it's -5 here in Aberdeen. So I'm going for 5-0 the Hoops. Sean's going for 3-0. Casper, CCV, Trusty, Alex Barry, McCowan to start, says Thomas. Need to stop pissing about at the back. Yes, we do that. Carly says it's a must-win. No. Mr. Quinn says 3-0. Hopefully we'll get a good result. Chill Pill's going for 2-1. Kieran says he wants to say 3-0, but I'd be surprised if it finishes 0-0. We cannot drop points today. If you drop points today, the fans will not be happy. Andrew's going for 5-1. Gus is going for 1-0. Lanky's going for 3 points, and that's all we need. Stephen Johnson's going for 3-1. Paul Bear's going for 3-0. Thomas going for 4-1. No, Thomas has just changed it. Tommy's going for 3-1. Danny Boy, time to get our mojo back. Hank, as long as you get a win, I don't give a... Brown Warriors saying a solid win. He's not giving us a score prediction, he's just saying a solid win. Chris is saying 4-0 Baz. Paul Baird is in the house saying hail. Thomas says 4-0. Soapy is going for 4-1. Mad. Mac is going for 2-0 at Celtic Park. Thomas is going for 3-0. Kenny's going for 3-0. And just win, please, says Stuart. Lanky says, this is an important question. Do we drop Calmack and Kyogo and play McCowan in either? Interesting one, Lanky. Interesting one. And for that, there's still 400 odd people. I'm going to finish up there's been over 313 votes on that poll. Sell 68%, keep 24. I'll end that poll, and then I'm going to quickly do another one. I'll stay on for the hour. So what's your thoughts on Greg Taylor? Sell 67%, keep 23%, shouldn't be near the team 5%, who cares, he's passionate 3%. Oh, you gotta love it. Right, this one's from Lanky. This one is from Lanky. He asked this question, so it's just a simple yes or no. The important is, do we drop Kalmak and Kyogo and play McCowan and Adam Ida? Let's see how this one goes. You've got 16 minutes on this poll, so we'll see how that one goes. It's quite split. It's 50-50 now. This is going to be an interesting one. This is an important question. Do we drop Kalmak and Kyogo and play McCowan and Adam Ida? And the votes are flying in for that one. Let's jump back into the 4-0 says, 5-1 says Keith Robertson. Jonathan says 3-0. 6-0. Taylor and Scales hat-trick. Oh my God. And my coffee's cold. My coffee always goes cold. It's 6-0. And a Taylor and Scales hat-trick says some random person. I hope you've got stuff on your channel. I love these fantastic names. I'm not sure about your wee man in the coat of arms though. 13 years ago. My fireworks display 1 year ago. Oh my God. By the way, we need to change the system. It's been found out, says Conan. I've been an advocate of that for long. Conan, I've been an advocate of trying to change it to a 3-5-2 in the SPFL for a long time now. I think that Celtic need to change it up. When you play the same system week in, week out, the inability of this team or the manager and the backroom staff to change, and people will say, look, when you've got a winning system, you keep it. But when you look at it, when we go away to Atalanta, it wasn't really a 4-3-3. It was more defensive than that, wasn't it? I mean, Kyogo was pretty much up front himself, and the wingers were pulled back a bit. I think sometimes you need to have that ability. In Scottish football, we should be playing a 3-5-2 system. Whether Brendan Rodgers, he knows he doesn't have the striking capability. If you put two strikers on and one of them gets injured, you've not got backup strikers, and there lies the problem within the Celtic squad as it stands at the moment. We don't have the players in positions that would be needed to change to a 3-5-2, and that's the stark reality of this current Celtic squad. We don't have players in positions to allow Brendan Rodgers to change the formation in a mid-game setting on a regular basis, that is. Jonathan's going for 3-0, Keith Robertson's going for 5-1. And then he's going for 1-1 Hibs Huns. Sean Bruce is going for 4-0. Fans need to get behind the team and help Rodgers. If he drops, he has to drop some dudes. Yes, he does that. Stephen Cassidy's going for 3 points and a clean sheet. Brown Warrior's going for Liam Scales hat-trick, overhead kicks for the tunnel. Oh, Jesus. There's one thing. Celtic fans do always look on the bright side of life. And it was a fantastic song that we used to sing back in the 90s. And, it was a dead rubber game. We lost a dead rubber game, but we move on. And we can talk about it. But at the end of the day, we're still back to winning ways today, I think and hope. Let's just bring back win and run. Tommy's going for 3-1 Celtic. Mark is going for 5-1. I'm expecting a big reaction. It's going to be interesting, Mark, to see the reaction of the fans at the beginning of the game today, because I think that they will be subdued. And it's just the way that the fan base is at the moment. They will be subdued after this win. It's going to take the team and the players to do something special on the park. If the players start off with a side-to-side 3-4 touches before the pass, the fans aren't going to be happy. The fans want to get back to the one-touch pass, the fast attacking football. And that was the problem at Ibrox. Too many players at the back were taking far too many touches. Lanky says, I would like the lineup to be Casper, Alistair Johnson, Cameron Carter, Vickers, Trusty, Alex Baye, Luke McCowan, Arnie, Paolo Bernardo, Kuhn, Ida and Maida. I think that's a fair shout. That's that would be a good team for Brendan Rodgers to go with today, especially at Celtic Park. A lot of folk laughing at Brown Warriors. One for Scales doing an overhead kick. Stevens go for 5-0. The Huns will drop points and Hibs will be back. The Huns will be back in meltdown mode. Well, you know what happens. We're on an hour and a half before kickoff. Are we on? I'm not sure what time they play at. The Bears know that they're still miles behind us. Yes, they do. Johnny Kenny has opened his Celtic account today from the bench. Do you want me Celtic account? Is Johnny Kenny even in the squad for today's game? That's one to watch. That is one to watch. And if he comes on, and by the way, if Johnny Kenny comes on today and scores, that's got us thinking about a completely different dynamic, isn't it? And it's got us asking even more questions. Will Celtic still go out and spend money on a striker? So many permutations for the squad today. St Mirren will kick us all over the park. Brown Water says Dyler, Brendan, Ange all suffered for the same issue despite being successful. Baz, yes, all of them were tied to a single approach system. The issue is the other teams eventually work us out. Yeah, and I think Ronnie Dyler was the first person to really bring in the one up front, wasn't he? He was the first manager that really played the one up front system, although it was usually one and then one behind managers before. Anyway, good thing is Celtic know how to win. The Huns will bottle their bottle merchants. Boy for being offer says fans know the Hun result is meaningless at the end of the season. All they've done is stopped an invincible season. That's the bottom line. Hail. Exactly. That's all they've done. They've stopped us being invincible. They're not going to stop us winning the league. Not a chance. And it's all comes down to the Scottish Cup. And that's the next big game. If we meet them in the Scottish Cup, I'm hoping we don't meet them in the Scottish Cup. I hope they get put out by Aberdeen. RJL 67 says we lose one game given against Sevco. Celtic fans are going proper silly about it. Before the Celtic game, we were all saying Brendan Rodgers is the best man in Scotland. He still is, by the way. Of course he is. Of course he is. I just think that we knew that we called out some of the tactical tweaks that I think that Brendan should have made before the game. Either I would rather have Bobby Lennox. Bobby Lennox is a bit too old for it. Either play the striker before Johnny Kenny. Yeah, I think he might. But why not give Kenny game time? People are saying. I'm going to jump through. Huns are saying Huns are saying Celtic are in a downward spiral. Mind they said that last season and we were double winners. Can you remember they said that we would fold like a pack of cards? That never happened. Aberdeen aren't beating anyone. No, Aberdeen are in free fall, aren't they? Lorna, remember sunscreen? No comment. A man who lives in the place where it's sunny all year round. Anyway, we've got 8 minutes into the poll. The question that Lanky asked, he said the important question is, do we drop Kalmak and Kyogo and play McCowan and Adamida? And we've got 121 votes in, and it's at 50-50 votes, 50% for each, which is a strange one. We're completely, the 121, there's 430 people online. There's been over 1,600 people on the video so far. So get your votes in. You've got 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left. There's 430 people online. Get voting. There's 123 votes already. Because this one is split 50-50. 124 votes in, and it's 49-51%. Can't get any closer than that. For a poll. I wonder if Sutton would cover Hibs and the Huns. I think he will for Sky, if it's on Sky. The Sheep are getting relegated. They were going, don't even talk to me. How disappointing is Aberdeen season went? It's unbelievable. The question, how hot is it in Portugal in March time? Lanky, it'll be at the bottom of Portugal. It'll be around about 20 odd degrees, 25 degrees. If you're going to the south of Portugal, if you're going to the north, it'll be cooler. But the south of Portugal, it'll be about the same as here. It's about 20 to 25 degrees. Poll should be a single drop Kalmak, not dropping Kyogo. Drop Kalmak, not dropping Kyogo. Against St Johnstone, the midfield was better without Kalmak. Interesting one. Pep Guardiola is now paying for failing to alter his approach. They've just got their first back-to-back wins since November. A team built on hundreds of millions. With a world-class manager struggling. Pep Guardiola for the Celtic job then. Get him before he decides to go to Rangers. He's not going to Rangers. Some random person says, sometimes I feel Kalmak slows their play down. I think that we could be a lot faster attacking in the build-up. I think that's because, I've said it before, Kalmak's played out of position there. Playing him in that holding midfield role is probably not his first choice. I mean, it was Ange Postecoglou that put him in there because he felt that Rio Hatate and other players were better going further forward. Anyway, Lorna says, is it snowing in the Maldives? No. Wee Man Sham says, thank God people in here aren't the boss. Yep. It's good to know I'm off to Lisbon in March. Yeah, it should be nice in Lisbon in March. It's further up the country a bit. It'll be plus 20. It'll be plus 20 as long as there's no Gota Freya coming in. It's pissing down in Swansea. Reminds me, it never snows here. Stephen Kelly's going for 2-2 the Huns. And let's finish off the poll because we're at 11 o'clock. We're at 10 o'clock in the UK. An important question is that it's still really, really close with 137 votes. Even though there's still 437 people online, people only voting on this one for some reason. The important question is, do we drop Kalmak and Kyogo and play McCowan and Adam Ida? Let's end the poll and see. What a shock result. 52% said no and 47% said yes. There we go. There was only 138 votes. Like he says, Lorna looks absolutely beautiful at the Maldives. I love New York, says Mr. Quinn. Anyway, right, I get Kalmak's back. Brown Warrior says, Ange Postecoglou to buy Kalmak deeper as a playmaker, not a defensive playmaker. That's the issue. Yep, it is that. Anglin Ayrshire said it's -1. RGL says nobody is without criticism, even Kalmak. Kalmak knows that himself. Celtic have nothing to worry about dropping points to -14 to -11. Yeah, exactly. 3-1 today says I'm done. Before my throat goes. Anyway, I will be back an hour and a half before kick-off today. Let's see if the team for Edinburgh can keep up the good work and their fantastic winning run that they've had in the last 4 games, and do us a favour. And then I'll be back to Meltdown Central for that lot across the city, and it all will be forgotten about the game last week. Anyway, on that note, have an absolutely fantastic day, and I'll see you in a couple of hours, Celtic fans all around the world.